The government says it wants to see 1 million homes built in England by 2020. A BBC investigation has revealed the scale of the housing crisis. The National Housing Federation says fewer than half the number of homes needed were built between 2011 and 2014. The shortage is putting homes out of the reach of many people. Our home editor, Mark Easton, explains.
Since the economic crash, UK governments have been reluctant to make promises on new homes. Back in 2007, Labour promised 240,000 new homes in England each year, only for the financial crash to reduce house building to a post-war low of 88,000 the following year. But the shortage of affordable homes has become a political issue, with Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn arguing for a major state house building programme. And now, for the first time, the Conservative Housing Minister putting a figure on the government's home building ambition.
If in 2020 we have built 1 million more homes than we had, then I would see that as success.
And if you haven't, you'd see that as a failure?
Well, it depends on what has happened in the market, obviously, because what we've got to make sure, first and foremost, is that we're delivering the homes for people that they need, where they want them or where they want to be, based on where their work is.
Looking at house building since the war, one can see the huge numbers of homes built in the 60s and the 50s, peaking in the early 70s as new towns like Milton Keynes and Peterborough were constructed. But much of that housing was public sector council homes, which have all but stopped being built since the early 90s. Recently, private developers have built the bulk of new homes, with the remainder being built by housing associations. And the figure fell dramatically, you can see there, after the economic crash, and is still less than 150,000 a year even now. Government figures, though, suggest England has needed 240,000 homes each year since 2011. But as you can see, the number built has been nowhere near that, a shortfall of more than 500,000 in the last Parliament.
For far too many people up and down the country, home ownership is just a distant dream, and that's because we failed to build enough new homes for decades. We're currently building less than half the number we need.
So a government ambition of 1 million homes this Parliament, 200,000 a year until 2020, still falls short of what experts say is required. And there are also real doubts as to whether it's actually achievable.
Our home editor, Mark Easton, there. Well, I'm joined in the studio now by the independent housing analyst, Henry Pryor. Welcome. Thanks very much for coming in. The government's saying 1 million new houses by 2020. Possible?
Well, wouldn't that be wonderful news? We have yet to see Mark's full report in the programme later this evening, but in order for that target to be delivered, the government would need to be starting to build 1 million homes by the end of 2018. Now, to give you some idea as to how much of a mountain that is to climb, last year they started building just 160,000. So in the 3 years between now and 2018, that would mean they'd have to put the pedal to the metal in some considerable fashion.
So you sound doubtful.
I think that it's important to remember that the housing minister, the energetic housing minister, Brandon Lewis, talks about an aim, an aspiration. This is not a pledge, and we know that from the general election in May that all the main political parties aspired to hit something in the order of 200,000 new homes a year by the end of this Parliament. So I think full marks for everyone for trying to come together and to get Britain building again. We are in the midst of a housing crisis. It's acknowledged by almost everybody now that we need to build more homes in order to house the burgeoning population. It's been a challenge for all governments of all political persuasions. And as Mark's report there just indicates, that the particular problem has been the drought in social housing construction. We found that local authorities have not been building in anything like the way they used to. And they may well be the key to the solution to this present problem.
So, as we heard from Mark there, and you've made the point as well, politicians from all parties make the right noises. They all want to build more houses. But, as we also heard from Mark, that often doesn't happen. How bad is the crisis now? Even if they were to build 1 million new homes by 2020, would that solve it?
I don't think it would necessarily. We think that there are somewhere in the order of 1.4 million people on social housing waiting lists up and down the country. So we know that there is significant pent-up demand. And again, as organisations like Shelter have pointed out, we've been under-delivering in the number of new homes to try and accommodate the population for years now. This has been a problem that no individual political party has been able to solve, and rather like the extremely distressing migrant issue that we've seen also dominating the headlines today, this is a solution that, whilst lots of people would love to find a practical solution to, this is a problem that lots of people would like to find a practical solution to, it's not something that for which there is a silver bullet or indeed an easy answer.
What does need to happen, though?
Well, we need to build the right houses in the right places for the right prices. At the end of the day, affordability is one of the biggest keys here. We've got a split society now where those who have owned property for the last 10 or 20 years have done extremely well. Rightmove, the big website, confirmed record asking prices this morning, approaching £300,000 for the average house across the United Kingdom. It's jolly difficult to see where those who want to clamber onto the housing ladder are going to find those kind of deposits. In London now, £70,000 out of taxed income. Average first-time buyer now somewhere between 31, 32 years of age. These people are going to struggle to get onto the housing ladder even if we built them, unless these houses are built at affordable prices.
But just very briefly, there are schemes. This is something that people have been aware of for many years. There are schemes to get more affordable housing built, but it doesn't seem to be working.
There's no shortage of ideas, and as of today, it's clear that the Housing Minister and the Conservative government have got a good deal of enthusiasm to deliver and provide a solution. We've had the very controversial Help to Buy scheme, and indeed the Right to Buy scheme, which has proved incredibly divisive. These are all ways of trying to help people to afford houses that are otherwise unaffordable. The only alternative is to allow the market to take over and for prices to fall to levels that people can thereby afford. Which one are the government going to continue with? Well, it seems that Help to Buy is here till at least the end of this Parliament, 2020, but will they have delivered the new homes that are required in order to feed that?
OK, Henry Pryor, very good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. And Inside Out's Housing Special is broadcast on BBC One. It starts in the next few minutes. Or you could stay with us.